All right, welcome everyone to the Tuesday, March 17th, and happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. The meeting of council. We're going to first start off with an award we'd like to give. So I'm going to come down around, and we're going to call if Shelley can come up. We have Shelley Tichy, which we are from the Westmoreland Conservancy, and she's receiving the Volunteer of the Year Award for 2026 from Council. What's that? Yeah, I'll read it. Recognition of Shelley Tichy. You can come on up and stand here so the camera can see you. The municipality of Murraysville proudly recognizes Shelley Tichy for her extraordinary dedication, leadership, and decades of service to the community and to its natural environment. For more than 2 decades, Shelley Tichy has been the driving force behind the preservation of open space and environmental stewardship in Murraysville and throughout Westmoreland County. Through her work with the Westmoreland Conservancy, a nationally accredited all-volunteer land trust dedication to preserving natural lands for the public good, Shelley has helped protect hundreds of acres of forest, fields, streams, wildlife habitat in our community for the benefit and enjoyment of present and future generations. Shelley joined the Westmoreland Conservancy in 2000 and quickly became an integral part of the organization's leadership. Over the years, she has served in numerous roles, including secretary, treasurer, and vice president, and has served as president for more than 15 years. Under her leadership, Conservancy achieved National Land Trust accreditation in 2013 and renewed that distinction in subsequent years, an achievement that reflects the organization's high standard of conservation and stewardship. Beyond her leadership with the Conservancy, Shelley has demonstrated continued commitment to municipal service. She assisted the municipality in 2012 as a member of a focus group for the community's comprehensive plan, contributing valuable insight and help shape the long-term vision of Murraysville. She has also dedicated more than a decade of service to the municipality's Environmental Advisory Council, volunteering her time and expertise, helping guide the environmental planning and policy for the community. Shelley's work reflects a belief that natural lands are essential to the community's character, health, quality of life through her efforts. Through her efforts, countless residents and visitors have the opportunity to experience the beauty of preserved woodlands, wildlife habitats, and natural trails throughout the Murraysville area. Her leadership, persistence, and passion have helped ensure that these special places remain protected for generations to come. The municipality of Murraysville is grateful for Shelley's dedication to conservation, civic engagement, and community service. Her many years of volunteer leadership exemplify the very best spirit of the public service. Therefore, the Murraysville Council proudly recognizes Shelley Tichy as the 2026 Murraysville Council Volunteer of the Year and extends its sincere appreciation for her outstanding contributions to the community. Here you go. Review that. Thank you so much for everything you do. Appreciate it.
I'd like to know who wrote all that.
I'll take the credit. No.
Thank you.
Mike's you taking that? Yeah, you can take that display thing too.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next, we're going to get a roll call vote, please.
Mr. McKenna,
Here.
Mrs. Ling,
Present.
Mr. Lemak, Mr. Diakopoulos,
Here.
Mr. Corns,
Here.
Mr. Miller. Here. Mr. Olszewski, Mayor Dice.
Here. All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to the announcement of unlisted amendments. Anything added, Mike?
Nothing this evening.
Nothing? All right, thank you. That moves us on to consent calendar items. Can I get a motion for that?
Motion to approve consent calendar items A through C.
Thank you, Jamie and Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes the consent calendar items. That moves us to comments by Mayor Dice.
Okay, can we get there we go. All right, once again, we have our AARP tax prep services. No walk-ups will be accepted. However, we still have appointments open on March 27th and April 10th. Please call 724-374-3780. This is a free service for senior citizens here in Murraysville. However, no walk-ins will be accepted. Next up, we have the Pleasant Valley landfill dates. Once again, Murraysville residents can take things to the Pleasant Valley landfill April 20th through April 25th. Permits are available here at the the municipality building. And as you can see, there are the dates of operation, the 20th to the 24th, and then the different hours for the weekend on April 25th. Next slide. There we go. That brings us to, there will be curbside leaf collection programs, even in the spring. It's kind of funny. So that will occur this upcoming Saturday on April 25th. So please just make sure to have all of your leaves bagged. Once again, there is a 20 bag limit. And please make sure to fill out the form. That way we know to come and grab those leaves. Thank you. Next slide. Oh, there we go. This is probably the best one. There's going to be an ages 4 and under Easter egg hunt in Sardis Hill Park on Friday, March 27th at 1 p.m. As it says there, we have partnered with the Murraysville Community Library for a fun Easter egg hunt for little ages 4 and under. Enjoy story time with the librarian, an Easter egg hunt, photos with the Easter Bunny himself, and a yellow peep, take-home crafts, and special treats for each participant. Spaces are limited, so please register at murraysvillelibrary.com. Next slide. We also have the Easter scavenger hunt. This is a self-guided scavenger hunt for all ages. It's all over the wetlands area at the Murraysville Community Park. Please follow the trail to find all of the eggs and write down each letter found. You can unscramble the words and scan QR codes. And I will say that there are also actual prizes that can be won for one adult and one child randomly drawn. So that'll be fun. Okay, next up, there is registration open for Jumpstart Sports for both basketball and soccer. This is youth basketball and soccer. If you go to that website right there, you can sign up for either. Thank you. Next up, this is probably another one that's pretty important. We are looking for someone to fill Eli's seat. Once again, he's moving out of the municipality, so he's required to resign. He's given official notice. So if you see right there, we're looking for, first of all, applicants for the Board of Appeals, and then we'll also be passing on matters in regards to construction. So you can find all those things on murraysville.com. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dice. Comments by the Chief Administrator. Mike?
Yes, just a couple items for this evening. PennDOT did notify us that the signal heads at the Route 380 and 286 intersection have been reconfigured so that the pass-through lane that gets a continual green now has overhead signals that indicate that the lane continues to move. So there was some confusion there. We got some feedback from the community. PennDOT was getting feedback as well. So they changed some of the signal heads to make it a little bit more clear at that intersection that the right lane going up the hill continues through without stopping. So hopefully that will help alleviate any issues there. Just a brief update that the artwork on the Heritage Trail, if you recall, it was a couple years ago when we were approached by a resident in the community who wanted to paint over some of the graffiti underneath one of the Route 22 underpasses where the trail goes kind of near the Penn Murray area. That project is finally getting close to underway. PennDOT finalized all of the approvals, and they have to issue the notice to proceed. So it took a few years for that to kind of round into shape, but the artist is still prepared to move forward and do the painting of the murals underneath the underpass there along the Heritage Trail. And then lastly, just an update on the stop sign at School Road and North Hills Road. We do have the traffic engineer coming out tomorrow to assist the Public Works Department in locating where the signs should all be placed. And then from there, one calls will have to be submitted, and then work can continue on that intersection. So there is progress moving there as far as the installation of the sign, but we have to get everything marked properly and then do the one call. So that is the update for that intersection as well. And that is all for this evening.
Thank you, Michael. That moves us on to number 7, which is our community input. Do we have anyone tonight? All right, nobody on there signed up, but for the good of the order, is there anyone that would like to say anything from the community? Going once, going twice? Nope, okay. That moves us on to liaison comments and committee reports. We'll start down with Eli.
Yeah, the pension committee is not meeting again until really the end of April, so no updates.
Okay, there was no planning commission meeting this month due to lack of business. Library will meet this Thursday, the 19th, and the next planning commission will be April 14th.
All right. Go ahead.
Parks and Rec Foundation met on the 9th via Zoom at 8:45 in the morning. We continued discussion around the sponsorship costs for the Murrysville Disc Golf Course, which is exciting. And also we reviewed the draft of that sponsorship mailer. School board meets on the 23rd at 7:30 p.m. here at Chambers.
All right, Michael.
Medic One meets this Thursday.
Okay, and the Parks and Recreation, we did meet last Tuesday. The business that was discussed was the Don Harrison Trail. We had a gentleman that's putting together a walk through that, so they're excited for that. Also, there was discussion around the excitement for the disc golf. I know that there are a lot of people that are been asking and are ready to use that, so obviously that's going to be a big focus for the Parks and Recreation Department. As well as, I won't repeat what Dane had said with the Easter egg hunts coming up. So that was it for that. All right, that moves us on to workshop items. Under administration, we have A is a stormwater credit manual discussion. Mike?
Yes, so this item is picking up back from last meeting where we did have some discussion on the stormwater credit manual. Again, as part of the stormwater fee ordinance, we are required to implement a credit system for the ratepayers. So picking up on the discussion from last meeting, really, I think we're at a point now where just staff is looking for feedback from council as to their input on the manual that was presented, the items that were discussed at the last meeting, and whether there's any feedback that staff can take to either rework the credit manual or provide an updated draft or to move the project forward, whatever the case may be. For councils, just to, I guess, kind of bookend that, I did provide an updated briefing to council for this meeting, which did lay out a little bit of information for council to see on the various ratepayers in certain categories. Again, trying to build off of what was discussed at the last meeting, that most of the ratepayers are the residential property owners, where they are non-single-family homes. There are not nearly as many ratepayers in that category, especially ones with much larger bills, especially as compared to some other communities where we heard some feedback about bills being pretty substantial. So again, without diving into all of the statistics and all of the data there, I'm happy to do that. I think we're at a point now where staff is just looking for some feedback from council on whether the current version that's laid out is adequate, whether changes need to be made, and if so, what sort of modifications we're looking at.
So I know I kind of kicked off this discussion last time, and so I don't want to go through all of that again and want to hear from everybody else on council. I think looking at this again, I think my biggest concern kind of remains that under the current credit system, it's not really incentivizing people all that much to do the BMPs. Again, as I understand it, I think you have an example here. If someone reduces their runoff by 50%, and we're talking about non-residential here, they would only get a 17.5% credit because they're only getting 35% of what they actually reduce. I think maybe we don't do the same with every credit, but at least particularly with credits where we're asking someone to make infrastructure improvements on their property which are highly beneficial to the municipality. I don't think that incentivizes all that well for people to do it, and I think I would like, from my perspective, I don't think it's going to be 100% credit, but something that is more in line with the fact that putting these things in obviously costs money, and if we want them to do it, it needs to be enough of a credit reward, or else just no one will do it. But I don't know what anybody else thinks.
I'm in agreement with Michael. And on that note, if that is put into play, my question then moving forward would be, would the fee have to be changed? Because as the credits increase, then also the revenue generated decreases. So then the whole projection by LSSE changes. So.
Yes, if you're asking me
Yes,
that.
I am
Yes.
kind of asking, stating, but explaining, asking for.
Yes, that's the difficult balance that we have to weigh out here. The consultant came in, obviously did a study of the community and the impervious surface, came up with the ERU number and the monthly rate figure, which worked out to, for round hole numbers, roughly around $1 million in revenue annually for the municipality to use towards stormwater. The delicate balance is, the more credit that is offered and the more lucrative that credit can be, then the more it cuts into the source of revenue or the funding mechanism. So it's hard to say because this is a new program. But yes, that is part of the analysis that we don't have great answers to until things are implemented. But it is true that if credits are either easily obtained or we'll say lucrative enough, then yes, it could cut into that revenue stream, which then could hinder some of the projections made by LSSE.
Well, let me step in real quick to say, a 100% reduction means you have a full-on on-lot system. Nothing gets out. So we're clear on that. I almost think at this point, when we're talking about percentages and how much money and stuff like that, whenever we hired LSSE, we were rightfully told that they do a ton of this. That engineering firm, they do these stormwater ordinances everywhere. That's why we went with them in large part, was just, wow, they've done a ton of these. So I almost feel like at this point with this, we really need a representative from LSSE here that can dig into that, because I agree with Michael when he says, hey, I just cut it in half and I'm only getting 17%, you know, that doesn't really seem like a winning bet. But at the same time, you know, Jamie, I remember you took exception with certain calculations with the $7, I believe. And at the end of the day, what we decided is, look, LSSE, we paid them a large engineering fee to do this, to calculate that fee. We're going to stick with a professional. We're going to stick with their data. At this point, I think there's enough of a question with their data and the algorithms they're proposing to put in place that we need them to be here to almost field some questions. But that was just my soapbox real quick.
So I wasn't on council yet when this was put in place. So right now we have a total of $1,017,156 as the anticipated revenue. Did we have a stormwater budget, sort of the target revenue that was necessary? Were we accounting for any non-payment or anything in that number? Okay.
Well, not in that number.
That-
There was a reduction. I think it came down to 958 or something like that.
933, yep.
Yeah, 933,
Yeah,
but
they
we needed
assumed that-
900 was our goal.
That's right, I didn't mean to interrupt you. They assumed a 10% credit municipally wide, I guess.
I have to say too, don't call it revenue. It's not revenue, it's a fee. And as we said to everyone, every single dollar of this is going to stormwater remediation, and every single dollar of this must be used legally for stormwater remediation, and it won't even come close to doing everything we need to do. So I just want to say it is not revenue, it's a fee. So, sorry.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, I think with that information, if $900,000 is the target, I don't know whether we need LSSE at a meeting or not, sounds good, but I'd probably have to pay for that. But I think we definitely could use feedback on what, let's say so I don't think any properties in this municipality are likely to be, as Dane said, be able to get 100% credit even if we offered it, because that's more very large industrial facilities that have their own system. But if we did 50%, up to 50% reduction, what does that do to your budgeting? Does that change the calculations? Is that more than anticipated? Obviously, looking at the numbers here, the total commercial is about a third of the projected revenue. You're not likely to see, other than some people might put in some rain gardens, but the credit's probably mostly talking about the non-single family. So what kind of impact does it have on that number? Does it change our overall calculations? I don't think that we have that information right now.
We don't have it, but I would just say mathematically, it would definitely affect our numbers. And given the percentage of what is commercial and what is residential, as we give more credits to the commercial, and there aren't as many for residential, it's going to be the residential that are making up the difference in how I look at that. And so then again, that's that equity, I hate that word, but what's equitable?
Equitable.
Thank you, that's the word. I just hate for that even to come out of my mouth, but we have to apply that across the board. So does that, kind of negate what was taken into account with LSSE by doing that? I don't know. That's more discussion, I guess, down when they come back in. I agree with Dane. I think we have more questions.
Sure.
Before they come in, just to make that more productive, could we have them run a few revenue scenarios so that we could,
Good idea.
have that before they come in, and then we can kind of, first of all, we've seen it ahead of time, and then we can have the discussion with them about options. And I agree with Jamie, I agree with Dane. It is a balance, but I just think the one, again, if we can make it so more people actually do the BMPs, I think it's beneficial to the system. So that's part of why I want to make it at least so that people will choose to do it.
And Michael, maybe also look to Monroeville or adjacent communities that have implemented and try to get a benchmark of what they have as well.
I think too, we have to also take into account the places that have a very big credit back system going. They have departments that all they do is stormwater for here. You know, we would have to have people that are going out and inspecting these, and the cost of that to us, we have to balance that, I think, into the equation too, which I'm sure that company does that, you know, looks a little bit at that. But I think that's a big thing to consider for us. I think, you know, that's why we were trying to keep it, you know, as simple of a credit system as possible, which I think, you know, is the right thing to do, but I understand everyone's.
Well, and the other thing you could do here is, we have a lot of credits. You know, you could kind of focus on the credits that are the most beneficial. Maybe some of the credits aren't necessarily the most. I'll give you the example. A lot of places don't give credit for pervious pavement for the reason that it is very difficult to maintain that as actual pervious. It works great when it's installed until it gets muddy, and then all the all the porous holes fill, and then it's just rain. It's just another impervious surface. I think we would much rather see, you know, true BMPs that are going to be more effective. Maybe we think about which credits we're giving, only give the credits that are for things that we really do think we want to see, and help get these numbers to work out a little better.
No, I mean, we really should have the credit system incentivize what we want to see. That's a great point, Michael. Thank you.
That's good feedback and very much appreciated. I think I can talk to LSSE and see what we can do about getting them in here, trying to model out some of these different scenarios. Just to your point, Eli, because I think I think you missed the last meeting. So part of the explanation, just so that you're aware as well, is we did look to other communities, and that's kind of what the guidance was for this manual. You mentioned Monroeville. That's an example of a community that doesn't offer a credit system to the residential ratepayers, only to the non-residential customers. So that's a question that I think I would also have for council. As we model out different scenarios, if we're able to do that, does that change, does anything change with regard to residential properties? As you know, right now it's structured that there's a simplified process. It's a rain barrel credit, which you can choose to keep or remove. And then, of course, any other approach as well. Again, the reason why we went with that approach is it seemed like it was offering something to residential ratepayers as opposed to nothing like some of the communities we've seen, but yet didn't put expectations on residential property owners to go out and do significant improvements to their property, only to try to, you know, save upwards of the $84 a year, which is the fee. It wouldn't be economical to see substantial improvements. So, and again, I don't think a residential customer would go and, again, spend thousands to try to save even the full amount, certainly let alone a share of the $84 a year. Is there anything that we want to do or model out with residential customers, or does it seem like this, the rain barrel idea or some concept like that would make the most sense? Again, just trying to provide enough feedback so that that I can provide enough feedback at the next meeting to kind of keep things moving forward.
I mean, my thoughts on that are, you know, I think if we're going to get more specific with the commercial customers, I think we want to keep the residential side as simple as possible on the credits like that, because I agree with what you're saying. It's very hard to weigh out spending that much money to save, you know, that small fee. I don't think we're going to see a lot of it, so.
And why, I mean, the reason, just for residents or anyone watching, the reason so much of discussion of the credits ends up on commercial properties is obviously, like you said, it's $84 a year for residents. Depending on the size of the property, it can be thousands and thousands of dollars for commercial. it is a fee based on impact, and if you have a lot of impervious surface, that's why you pay more. So it's fair, but obviously it does make a much bigger impact on them, particularly if they're doing things to make the impact less.
Yeah, I think moving forward, like, I think it's a great idea to bring them in. You know, I do like Michael's point to maybe have them run some mock scenarios of that and what it would look like with different types of credit styles or whatever of how that's written up. I think if we saw that ahead of time, it would make the discussion better at the meeting, I think.
We can do that. So what I'll do is I'll engage LSSE. We'll see what kind of a timeline we're looking at. It may not even be at the next meeting, but I want to get something into your hands that's a little bit more concrete. If we can model some scenarios out, we'll do that. And then I'll certainly keep council aware, and we'll bring it back to the next public meeting when it's ready for further discussion. Okay.
Mike, as far as, just a quick question in regards to the stormwater, is if the, I know that you have to look into the billing side of things for this. Is it possible to still kind of move forward with how we want to handle the billing now? And then, you know, say we change that, the way we're going to do credits of some sort, we can always give those credits back to those commercial customers, right? For like the next round or whatever, or a lot of them might be paying monthly. I just hate if it's going to take them a while to put this information together, come here to a meeting, and, you could be into June before you even talk to a billing company about how we want to bill for this. I don't know that we want to wait.
Correct. So, and that's an item that's on the agenda here is the RFP for billing services. So what I would say to that is, one, the manual kind of gives guidance to how the credit process can be implemented and applied. So we will have to iron that out in some fashion, but we can still move forward with billing because the billing RFP process, because ultimately what happens is if somebody applies for credit, that comes into the municipality, the application is reviewed, a decision is made, and then the credits get applied to the account. And again, the way it's currently structured, they would be applied for the next bill, the subsequent bill. And again, that can be changed and modified, but no matter what, the first round or first set of bills won't have credits applied because the program's not even implemented yet. So we can get to billing, and that is all part of the RFP, and I can explain that a little bit more thoroughly.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But we would notify whoever the biller is about the credits as they are approved or awarded or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it sounds fair. Everyone on council, is everyone comfortable with the plan for what to do with that?
Yes.
Any other questions anyone wants to ask in regards to this? Okay, that moves us from the discussion around that to under administration. We have 9B, which is MCP ball field discussion.
Yes, so bear with me as I pull up the briefing for this item. We were approached by the local baseball organization about the ball fields and some of the maintenance issues that are occurring there. One of the things we run into continually is that the baseball organization specifically, because they're playing on infields and dirt, typically run into issues at this time of year because of the weather. As we can see, we go from nice to not so nice weather very quickly, and it impacts their ability to play games, to practice, and everything else in between. In conjunction with that, we spend quite a bit of money each year on infield soil mix for those ball fields, specifically at MCP, but also at the other fields as well. And obviously the rain events can wash away or degrade that infield mix, which is a pretty specialized and high-end mix that we utilize. So in discussion with the local baseball group, the municipality has always talked to them about potentially using tarps at the fields, but the feedback was usually that they struggled to find volunteers to be able to move the tarps and put them on and off of the field. It sounds like there's a lot of support within the baseball organization to be able to use tarps. They have equipment now, a gator And they've identified tarps that can be put on and taken off by the use of the machinery, making it a lot easier than having parent volunteers come out onto the field. So based on all of that, the staff looked into the tarps that the baseball group was considering purchasing, and wanted to run it by council to see if there was interest in purchasing tarps for the 2 fields at MCP that would allow the baseball organization to tarp the fields, try to preserve the infield mix, allow the field to be more playable throughout the different weather events. And so that is essentially what this item is up for discussion on the agenda. I did not list it as an approval item, but merely a discussion item. But if council does want to move forward with the purchase of tarps, we would look to work that into probably an amendment to the capital improvement program. It would be a capital purchase. So hoping to have discussion on that item. And again, I should mention the anticipated cost of the 2 tarps is around $7,000 for the 2 tarps. So be interested to hear council's feedback on whether to make a purchase like this for the, to preserve the ball fields and assist the local sports organization.
I'm not sure if you said this and I missed it. What's the lifetime of the tarps?
I don't have a specific number in front of me. I might have it right here. I didn't say that, and I don't know that I have that that answer in front of me.
Do you know?
I don't, but I don't know. I don't know if the FRA that looked into the tarps possibly has an answer to that.
I'm going to guess it's at least several years.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's worth knowing, absolutely.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I don't have that number in front of me, and I apologize for that.
I'll start off. I think that this has been an issue for many years. My kids participated in FRA for many years, and you had lots of cancellations just because of where we live and the weather that there is. So I think anything we can do to make that better for the kids in this community to be able to play, I think it's a huge thing. The tarps, I think, is a good compromise to, I know there's been discussion of other, turfings and whatnot. You're talking massive expenditures for things like that. I think this would at least allow us to try to keep these fields open as much as possible. And I think that's a fair thing. And I think it's something that as a municipality, we would like to do for that. So I'll open it up for anyone to.
I agree with you, Mag. I think it's fantastic. My kids don't even play baseball, but I'm all for that. So the question I have is, I'm curious. We spend about $8,047 a year for the soil mix. After putting on the tarp, would that reduce that amount that we're paying out every year to take care of the fields? Just curious. I mean, I'm assuming the answer would be yes.
No.
But
Well, we think that it'll prevent some of the wash away, but I don't know how much of an impact it will have. We've never tarped our fields before, so I can't say for sure how much of a savings it would generate. But the belief is that it would prevent some of that infield mix from washing away year to year. But we don't know the number there. We don't have a projection.
I think it's a great way to protect our investment, in that for sure. I can only speak to, I was a part of the Franklin softball team. My daughter played for years, and they tarped that field there, and they were able to keep that field playable and, throughout the year.
I think that's the main point of tarping it, is to just make the fields readily usable, not having to do a lot of effort from either our Public Works or FRAA in order to get that the day of or whatever usable. I personally don't have a problem, being that it's not a one-time cost. It's something that's going to be spread over the course of years. It can save labor, which is a cost in and of itself. And maybe we will find that it actually is a cost reduction over the course of 3 to 4 years with the soil mix. I think it's a little bit of an experiment, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I would support it as well. I like the word compromise versus, more expensive options. Just maybe a general question, does the tarp cover the entirety of the infield? Does it go into the grass outfield? Do we have a sense of that?
It would be a 90 by 90 tarp. It would cover essentially the infield. I think it would carry into the outfield slightly, but it's primarily designed to just cover the infield dirt and preserve that area.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it, ideally it should get into the outfield a bit, so just double check that, and even if you go another 10 feet, that might be beneficial,
I'm definitely supportive of this. I think there's an FRA representative here who may have a bit more information. Would be appropriate to ask at this time if he wanted to share. He may be able to answer some of the questions that we've just asked.
He or she. There's two.
He or she. Okay. I saw the coat. So
Yeah, we'd like to open it up if FRA
Yeah,
wants to say anything. You'd have to come up to the mic, though.
not to put you on the spot, but if you have some of this information, it might be just great to get it.
And I know you guys looked into that tarp too a good bit. If you have any insight on how long they last, that's a good.
Sure.
That was a great question.
I'm Michelle Kish with Franklin Regional Athletic Association. Lifespan on the tarps is about 5 to 8 years.
Thank you.
It would cover primarily just the dirt infield, and we would have to get a larger tarp to go to the outfield a bit. The outfield really generally, grass generally is not the problem. It's all the dirt. I wouldn't anticipate that it would reduce the municipality's costs. That investment is what you guys do to prep the fields, and then we are the ones that are paying for all the field dry throughout the season. So it would help our cost, but our priority is to just be able to play on the fields day to day. What were some of the other questions?
I think those were the size of the tarp, length of the tarp, the cost. I think those were the questions everybody had.
The larger tarp, did you say that, do we know a cost of what he had mentioned, and does it, make sense to look into those? Yeah.
Yeah, we could check. I mean, the tarps are, the sizes that we were looking at are roughly $3,000 a piece. I think it's important to point out that what we were talking about is just 2 tarps to test this out.
Right.
We've got a lot more than 2 fields. And our proposal was to use banner revenue. We weren't anticipating that Murraysville would be paying for these. Our proposal was to use banner revenue as a test case for us to pay for 2 tarps, and then do that year over year to add to our collection of tarps to eventually have many more, so to make all of these fields playable. MCP is just one part of our issue.
Are these tarps stored right on the premises, like in the off-season?
Yeah, so we would be putting them along the third baseline fence.
So you were seeking sponsorships to pay for these?
Yes, we have a sponsorship program proposal that we were hoping to be able to implement, because it would not only provide revenue to cover this, but then other significant investments over many years if we were able to implement it ongoing. It's to have banners put at on the outfields of only the MCP fields, 5 banners each outfield, and those banners would be sold for $500 a piece, up only from opening day until the end of spring season. So that would give us a significant amount of revenue to be able to make investments, not just in tarps, but let's say we need, another gator, like other equipment at other fields. We've been building sheds at other fields so that we can keep our equipment safe. It would allow us to continue to make investments in those projects.
Currently, there's an ordinance in place that prevents this, right?
Correct.
So I guess that would be one thing I would also at least like to raise with council is we have 2 tarps at this point. If this does succeed, we'd be adding, how many fields do we have?
Oh, geez, I don't know that number offhand.
2, 3, 4,
Probably over a dozen, I think. Do you know that answer, Michelle?
I think 7 others. I think there's 9 total.
Yeah.
If I'm correct. I'm just doing the math real quick.
We have 10.
About
Okay, so the cost could get a little bit more substantial if we end up doing this with every.
Right, and I think when we were approached with this, obviously, it's been something that has been discussed for years, and trying to help them, to keep these fields open and allow these kids to play on the fields. That's the most important part. of all of this, I think that it was, if we were doing anything with that, I know it was discussed as like as a test just for these two tarps to see how that transpires and works out. So I think that's
I think-
Michael,
and
where the
I-
discussion.
I think it makes a lot of sense at this cost to test these. If we are going to end up, if this works, and I hope it does, because I hope these makes the fields really good, may want to I'd like to revisit that question of sponsorships at some point, because again, I mean, I know sponsorships, I know there's pros and cons, but if we're able to accommodate that and spend less taxpayer dollars, I think it should at least be discussed.
Yeah.
Part of our question would be, would it be appropriate to test a sponsorship program for just this season to allow us, because we have over 10 to 11 sponsors already interested in doing a concept like this, where we could, within the next couple of weeks, have $7,000 raised to pay for all of this ourselves.
I have one thing to say about that, and I would like to talk to an engineer or something in light of some of the windstorms that we've had recently to hang banners on the fence there, if there could be possible damages, like
We have,
to our own
banners
property.
specifically for that, mesh banners.
Well, I do think it makes, just my personal opinion now, to go forward with this test, but I guess I'm more thinking long-term, and correct, you'd have to answer all those questions about structure, and if there's structural reasons or infrastructure reasons why we can't do it, if it's purely aesthetic issues, then I would discuss whether that makes sense to prefer, if it's going to save the taxpayers a lot of money, but I don't think we need to have, I don't think we're quite ready for that discussion, because that's a whole change of policy. I think it's an ordinance change. So it's not, we would not be able to have this in place for this anyway. I guess I'm more thinking about if we are going to be tarping 9.
I agree. I think if it works and we can roll it out, I think it's a feasible way to do it and a good way to do it. But yeah, I think it would take a lot for this season for that to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's
mainly because
probably not feasible for this, but I just wanted to put it on the table.
the ordinance, yeah. Mike, any thoughts? Discussion?
No, I think you guys have discussed all the different issues. I think that is one of the issues that we face. We had our fields meeting earlier in the month. They were talking about trying to do the advertising. I do think that there is a good opportunity there for the organization to generate some revenue, try to help offset some of the costs, be able to continue to promote their organization and what it offers. But the difficulty we face right now and leading into their season is that we have an ordinance that's pretty explicitly clear about advertising signs at the park. Now, I do think that could be revisited, but that ordinance has been in place for quite some time. And it contains other restrictions and other criteria regarding naming rights, scoreboards, things like that. So part of the reason why the municipality gave it thought to just try to assist the organization for this first go-round of potentially tarping is, one, it allows us to have time to revisit an ordinance with ample time for council to discuss that and the implications of that. And also, avoids a scenario where council violates its own ordinance by allowing some type of activity that's explicitly prohibited. So, that kind of led into the discussion of, well, why don't we try this ourselves? It might help assist with some of the field maintenance. It'll certainly allow for the organization to get, more field time. And it can be a trial run. It's just a little bit kind of a different vision on how to approach that at the beginning of this baseball season. So I think council kind of explored that, and that's been discussed here. And I think we could certainly bring this ordinance to the forefront and discuss a revision to it, but that can't happen over a couple weeks' time anyway.
Yeah, I do see that being an issue with it. And also with MCP, the difficult thing, especially with that ordinance being in place, is doing a test like that. Multiple organizations are using MCP for all the other stuff, and to do a test on an ordinance that
No, I'm not, to be clear, maybe I'm not, there's an ordinance in place that governs. I'm not saying that we should apply it as a test here. The test is the tarps.
Yeah, if they work.
Which the municipality, if everyone, it sounds like everyone's agreement, that we would pay for those. So it is a longer term discussion where you're going to have to talk through all of those issues, and it may be that no, it's just not feasible. But since they've raised that they may have some sponsorship availability, I wanted to just raise it for a long-term discussion.
I think that definitely can be discussed in the long term.
And in the meantime, we can even see if this is worth doing on a large scale with 2 tarps. Who knows? Maybe the tarps just don't do as much as we thought it would, or who knows? It's amazing. We want to do it at every field. So, good experiment.
What would be the next step? And I guess my question would be how quickly with opening day fast approaching, how
Sure.
fast can we get these tarps? And
Well, again, FRA has done the research as far as the tarps that seem to make the most sense and fit their criteria. If council wants to move it forward, we could even add the item to this agenda. If you want to wait until, the April 1st meeting, that could be done as well.
I don't think we wait. If everyone's in agreement, I think that opening day is fast approaching and the weather doesn't really help us around here.
I think we need to decide first if we're gonna go with the ones that just cover the infield or the ones that extend into the outfield. Can you explain why, Eli? I don't have any experience with baseball. My kids are all swimmers.
Clearly, when you're removing the tarp, you want the water to be on the grass. So
That makes sense.
I would think the larger tarp would ensure that the water goes onto the grass. That was my thought process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the tarps that were in discussion, those extended a little bit past the dirt or just to the dirt?
I believe it was just to the end. Well, there was 90, you said 90 by 90 is what you guys were looking at.
Yeah, I think that was part of the spec sheet that you gave
Did I?
me. So, and I was trying to pull up here the dimensions of the field because, again, depending on how they are laid out,
So I'm sure even if we did 100 by 100, that couldn't be that much of a difference,
Probably better insurance.
in cost, and it would give you a little buffer.
Right.
yeah, I'm just measuring again, it's not going to be up against the dugout, so to speak, but if you go from the dugout fence out to like the shortstop outfield, left center area, it's looking like 98 feet, so give or take, say 100 feet from the fence at the benches to the outfield line. So, if we need to look at maybe a slightly larger tarp, and again, that also depends on whether the equipment that they have can facilitate that. I would assume that it could, but, it would make sense, though, to get a large enough tarp that it does,
Extend to the grass.
and it also achieves the objective. Try to
If you take
do
that
everything
off-
we can to make the field playable.
Yeah, if you take that off and all the water goes right onto the field right before game time, that's going to take
There's two
away.
different field sizes. A and C are two different sizes, and those are the two that we were looking at doing.
Right.
Because
C
C
is
is
bigger.
bigger, so you have older age groups that can play on that. We could get to you by tomorrow, the exact specs, and we can, figure out if there is an option that is a little bit bigger to make sure that water runoff would go to the grass.
Yeah, it looks like the larger field is right around 110 to 115. Again, this is a rough overhead sketch, so.
Yeah. What's the council think about moving this to an action item for today, just as far as if we get that information? I hate to put it off for,
So
2
we
weeks is
we
fast
could we could
approaching.
authorize essentially either and leave it to the staff discretion
The staff.
to do which is more feasible or which is more beneficial.
Right.
be okay with that.
We can certainly do that. And again, knowing that
We gonna
this has
maximize the
council
amount?
support,
Like set a max amount?
not to exceed.
Yeah, not to.
Yeah, we could.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That knowing that there's council support, you could set a not to exceed amount, and ultimately you would see this item come back up at the end of the year as we do the CIP amendments, because this was not part of the original budget, so
Right.
it would be part of that. So if there's an amount not to exceed, we can certainly work within that.
Any thoughts on what you think that should be?
I'm thinking 10,000. If it's 7.
10 sounds
10?
good to me, yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, if we do $10,000, not to exceed 10,000.
Okay.
So we will add that to the agenda for tonight to approve to the staff discretion after we figure this out with the tarps, not to exceed $10,000. And that way we can expedite the ordering of it a lot faster. Everyone
Yeah, I
good with
agree.
that?
I leave it up to the solicitor where we should put it and how. Yep.
Beg your pardon?
If we're amending the agenda and whatnot, I mean, do you think we even need to amend the agenda? Or because the amount's so low, I mean, that's below even telephone bids.
That is,
So I don't even know if we need to, quote unquote, amend the agenda. I think we can simply say, hey, staff, this is the kind of stuff you would generally buy, and just put in a bill list. But
I would put it under an action item and act on it tonight. It is on the
Workshop.
agenda as a workshop item. And I think
Okay.
I would just move it over to
An action item.
item 13C.
it's up to you guys.
Be either one, and to be honest, we're
Yeah, I
moving,
guess we could
moving
go
away
to
from the workshop items now. You could even make the motion now, and we can.
Yeah, that's what, let's just do it under this, it is on the agenda, so
Right.
we're not even really amending it.
Amending the
Yeah.
agenda, yeah.
Thank
Okay.
goodness, yeah.
It's on it already, so.
Yeah,
So,
maybe ask for a
yeah,
motion.
can I get a motion to approve the purchase of 2 tarps at staff discretion according to the research done for that, not to exceed $10,000?
Second.
All right, thank you, Darren and Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes.
very
Let's get
much.
some tarps on those fields for you guys. All right, engineering, nothing under engineering, nothing under community development, public works and parks for workshop. That moves us on to our council action items. We have 13A. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, motion for approval policy number 53-26, a formal policy establishing a financial reporting and payment procedure required for the volunteer fire companies to receive funding from the municipality.
Second.
All right, thank you, Eli and Jamie. Michael?
Yes, pretty straightforward. The municipality provides funding to the 3 volunteer fire companies for equipment maintenance, repair, and other expenditures. As part of the process for providing funding, our auditor, the municipal auditor, has recommended that the municipality ensure that we either receive financials from the companies or obtain proper proof of the various purchases that are being made in order to ensure that we are properly expending funds to these various companies. So staff is asking council to consider adopting this formal policy, which establishes the financial reporting and payment procedures for the volunteer companies. It essentially does 2 things. Either the companies would provide audited financials, or if they would be unwilling to do that or unable to do that, then they would just have to provide proof of purchase to receive reimbursement, or we would pay the vendor directly. So for instance, if there were new tires that needed to be purchased, but they didn't have the money to front the payment, then they would submit a purchase order to the municipality, and we would pay the vendor directly for whatever that expenditure may be. And that would then satisfy the recommendations from our auditor by having this twofold approach to addressing expenditures to the fire companies. So that is what the policy is, essentially, that you are considering today.
Any questions from council? I think this just kind of cleans up a policy we sort of already had anyway. It just sort of consolidates and cleans it.
Yeah, it's basically cleaning up what we had done in practice and now kind of formalizes it into a policy for operational purposes.
All right.
I just want to know too, I mean, our auditor, De Blasio and Associates, they actively recommended this, and I don't know if it's ever a good idea to go against your auditor, so.
Sure.
Good point. Okay, any questions from council? Nope. Okay, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. Can I get a motion for 13B, please?
Motion to approve the request for proposals for stormwater fee billing services.
Second.
All right, thank you, Michael and Eli. Mike?
Yes, so this is a kind of an extension of continuing the stormwater fee process. The municipality put together an RFP that will seek a qualified vendor or contractor to provide billing services. As council is aware, for the community's sake, we don't do very much fee collection here in the municipality. We certainly don't do any large or significant volume of billing from the municipality. So we would issue the RFP and seek feedback from qualified vendors or companies, or even there are a couple authorities that come to mind that also do collections that could also put in on the RFP, put a submission in. So the intent is to solicit proposals and explore what options we have for billing and what those costs may be, and then make a decision on who we wish to contract with to provide collections for the stormwater fee.
Any questions from council? I know we kind of discussed a little bit this in general. Anyone? Nope. All right, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. That moves us down to 16A under Public Works and Parks. Can I get a motion for that, please?
Motion to advertise for bids, various road materials, signs, and line painting.
Second.
Thank you, Jamie and Darren. Mike?
This is an item that we do annually that's budgeted from the general fund, and this is just allowing Public Works Director to advertise for the various road and signage materials that they use throughout the year. Export Borough, through a cooperative purchasing agreement, is also able to piggyback on any of the contracts that we engage in. So this is just to allow Bill to put out the bid for the various materials for the next year.
Any questions from council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. Nothing under old business, nothing under new business. Is there an executive
I
session?
would
or-
ask council to have a brief executive
Brief
session
executive
on
session.
a legal matter.
Okay. So we're, yeah,
What was it again about?
This is
Would it be fair to say
potential
public safety
litigation
as
on
well?
a
Yeah.
Developers agreement.
Perfect, that's it, that's all we need, thank you. Sorry, Michael, I'm sorry.
okay. So we are going to have an executive session and no action will
No
be
action.
coming out of that?
correct.
All right, and the one thing I did while the gentlemen are back here, great job. I know that we had a fire at 380 auction here recently. You guys, obviously, people probably saw it in the paper. You guys did a fantastic job getting there as fast as possible and limiting the damage to that longtime community member. So thank you very much to all of our police and fire. All right, one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
I'd like to maybe a couple comments here in my last meeting. I just want to thank the community for entrusting and the confidence to elect me in this position. It's been an honor to serve with each of you, Mayor Dice, President Mack, and really council member. The Murraysville administration's fantastic. Murraysville is such a great community, so it's kind of bittersweet to leave. But it's a community that you can raise a family and you know you can be proud of. So Murraysville, you're in good hands with these professionals, so all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, Eli, I apologize, I forgot that this was your last meeting. I was thinking you had
Sorry.
one more left in you, but
Yeah.
no, thank you so much for everything you've done. It's been an honor to serve with you, and I'm sure the community appreciates that.
Yeah, your knowledge has really helped us, especially with the pension committee and just your financial analysis. So we really appreciate it, and I do. Thank you.
Yep. All right.
All right, happy St. Patrick's
Yeah.
Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. One more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Jamie and Darren. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, this meeting's adjourned.